Hi, Jiri. How are you?
Nice to meet you. I'm very fine. I'm greeting you from Plzeň, Czech Republic.
Yes, and we met in Prague last summer
Yes,
when I
yes,
came for a
exactly.
visit.
Yes, and where are you now staying in this moment?
I'm located in Israel, right in the center, not too far from Tel Aviv, in the middle of
Yes.
Israel.
Thank you very much. I would like to welcome my honored guest Mikhal Heffer to this podcast, to this talk. Welcome warmly.
Thank you. It's nice to be
And
here.
tell me, how are you today? What is new in your life?
Oh, well, there's a lot of things going on, both political and war zone and the terrible catastrophe of the 7th of October. That's one thing that's going on. Very sad reality here in Israel. This also influences everything, the markets. You know how the whole world was influenced by the Russian-Ukrainian war. So we are here influenced as well. So we're in a very challenging times, I would say. But
And
otherwise,
yes, and I will follow up on this a little bit before I tell you about my news. I would like to follow up on your report from your country. Does this influence, because I know that you are working internationally, you have a great company for international business concerning translations. So if anybody is listening who is interested not only in translation but also in business, please stay with us. Tell me, has this influenced, and just briefly please, has this influenced this situation in your business personally?
of course, what can we do? I mean, people in a war zone or when there's a serious conflict, even small conflict, people don't feel like taking chances and doing new things. So a company that planned to work overseas might be hesitant now. Let's wait, let's see. This is true about many global crises. Everyone stands still and there's nothing. We're all in shock. So we are 3 months after the attack of the 7th of October. So things are starting to pick up again. And we're starting to get back into, just trying to do your business. Now, companies, some have employees that are in reserve duty, employees and managers that are fighting, people that have taken their families and gone overseas. So things have changed. You cannot ignore it. So
Yes.
do whatever we can.
Yes. Now I'm staying in Plzeň. However, I'm originally from Prague, and as you know, there has been some bad shootings in Prague University as well. We talked about it in our last meeting. However, we can maybe touch this issue a little bit later in our talk. Let's concentrate now on business. Do you agree?
Yes, that's true.
Let's do it. So I was very interested in, because before that I know that you are the president of the Litchi Translations Company, which is an international translation company. And tell me, what inspired you to name it Litchi? Why?
Because there's orange, there's apple. Why shouldn't there be lychee?
Nice.
No, it's lychee is an Asian fruit. It's it's a delicious fruit. And my company specialized, when I first set it up 26 years ago, it was after I studied Chinese. And when I set up the company, I wanted to find a Chinese flavor to the name. And we just thought about lychee, which is the delicious Chinese fruit, Asian fruit.
Nice, very nice. Thank you for a nice introduction. I would like to go a little bit deeper into introducing yourself. Tell me, so that we can understand a little bit more your business, what are you grateful for to have achieved in the past? Can you name some greatest achievements from your business, some examples?
Well, you know what makes me the happiest is that I know that I'm supporting and providing salaries to so many people. People are living from the work that I provide them. If it's the project managers, if it's my office manager, if it's my team of administrative team, because we have 2 project managers and a office manager. And over the years, I had sales managers and different positions. And think also about the translators that have been working with me for years and years and years. I have to, one of the highlights was when I traveled to China. It was pre-COVID, and I met one of my translators. She was a Chinese woman that I met in Israel first time 30 years ago, because she came to study Hebrew, and she speaks very good Hebrew. And over the years, we did some projects together. And in 2019, when I came to Beijing, and I went to Beijing University and I stayed with her, and she told me, Michal, it was thanks to the work that I did together with you, I could buy a house. Now think about it, a woman in the mid 90s, okay, that it was 1995 or 2000, that she was working for my company and she could buy a house. So what is my mission in life? Is to help my fellow employees and people to make money and build themselves a comfortable life. So
yes, I would like to turn away from because I have prepared some questions for you. However, I would like to turn away a little bit from that and ask you something about leadership, because I know that it's not easy sometimes to be a leader. How do you see yourself as a leader for your people who are you working with? Is it difficult for you, easy or challenging?
Jiri, that's a very good question, because one of my challenges is to make decisions. To do this or to do that, I don't always know. And I share this together with my team. So, a leader, I think, needs to make a decision, but I think a leader also needs to listen to what other people say. And I think it's good to make decisions together with a team, because basically, let's say I'm the leader, okay, I'm the manager of the company, but those who will actually perform the tasks are my team. Now, I want them to perform the tasks, so I want to reach a decision together with them, because then if they make the decision, it's easier for them to perform whatever is required to accomplish the task. So let's say if we decide, shall we go to participate in a certain exhibition, or will we do a certain advertising, or shall we contact special, let's say, medical device companies or high-tech companies or whatever. If we reach a decision together and we split the decision into smaller tasks, it's easier for me to go forwards because they are with me. And let's say it was important for us to use new technologies, translation management tools. We call them CAT tools, computer-aided translation tools. So we discussed this together, and we found, we consulted together what would be the best tool, and I got them involved. So, so that's how I see leadership. It's not that I'm the leader, you have to do what I say. I'm not that type of leader.
Yes, I understand. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for your answer. Perfect. I would like to say that you have helped me to ask my next question. But before we go on, I would like to thank people who are listening to us. We are talking not only about translations with Mikhal from Israel. And if you have any questions, write us under this video, please. And we will be happy to answer every single question that you have, please. So let's continue. You have touched these systems, so maybe we can stay a little bit with this. What is the trend or future trend for translations business? How do you see it?
Well, we're in the midst of an evolution. You remember in the 1980s, they started to change the printing method. Instead of like, let's say you had a camera, and you used to take out the roll of the film and you put it in a dark room, and you prepared the copies and of the photographs. And then you had a new machine that it took, I don't know, 3 days. And then you had another machine a few years later that took 24 hours. And then you had, let's say, you get your photos printed within 1 hour. And eventually this whole thing faded away once the digital printing came in. We're in the same kind of revolution right now. we're in the midst of the revolution with the AI, machine translation, and this is impacting my industry in an extensive way. Because let's say up to now, we had human translators performing the translation from A to Z, everything, the whole process. But today we have massive amount of content. You know, it's unbelievable. Everyone can put information on the internet. It's massive amount. You don't have enough translators to translate it all. But on the other hand, you have on a click of a button, you have Google Translate, DeepL, and all the other engines can just translate your information in a second. So it's an incredible change. And obviously this has an influence on my industry too. What does that mean? That I can use machine translation in the process of my translation projects, which
Yes.
I'm doing.
Yes. And I hope
we have actually, it's been a couple of years that we've used machine translation, but we can't just use the engine on its own. It has to be edited. And the level of editing changes because you can't use a document like the output from the engine, like Google or whatever, as I said, and just send it and put it up on your website. It really needs to be edited. And I think the role of the translator in certain cases is changing from a translator to an editor.
We are talking about the AI. So yes, we need to adapt to this or cooperate with it, or how can we say this?
Well, first of all, I believe that in a revolution, you have to adapt. I'm thinking about Nokia. Nokia as a smartphone was on the top of the market. Everyone had a Nokia. BlackBerry, I'm not quite sure. You know, everyone had a Nokia. Now, after the smartphone entered the market, I think I haven't heard of Nokia for a long time. I have no idea what's going on with them. But maybe they have a certain segment, but definitely they're not Apple, they're not Samsung, they're not on the top. So I believe that if you miss, you can find yourself not relevant in a while. So I'm adopting, I'm adjusting. I offer my client basically now, let's say 4 services. If once it was translation, then you'd have translation and editing, which means you take the translator and let's say you want to have it to brush up the quality, make sure it's 100%, just have another review. So that would be translation and editing. So you'd have translation, the standard, and editing would be a higher level. But now for lower levels. So one would be the machine translation with post-editing, which is taking the output from the engine and adding an editor. And I can have even a lower version, which is just the editing, just the machine translation.
Yes.
And that could be, it depends on the material, it depends on the style. Let's say if you just, you want your website in 20 languages and you want it tomorrow. So let's say, let's just do machine translation. Now, if you see that a certain page is, wow, you get tons of people coming into your page, into the certain page, let's review that certain page in that certain language. Let's edit it. And then if you see that you have lots of clients from Finland, I don't know, and you say, I need a brochure and I want it to be perfect, then I will do a translation. And if, let's say, your product is a medical device and it has to be really, really accurate, I'd say, let's do translation and editing. So it depends on the material. Another thing you need to consider, some documents you can't use machine translation because they're scanned, or because it's something that's in rhymes and it's a book, or it's a book. Depends on the book, but it depends on the content, I would say. Some things, there's still, machine translation is a bit robotic. And if you want to express the essence or some kind of flavor, sometimes a person can do that better. So it depends on the material, I would say. But basically, if it's scanned, if it's a document, certificate, the AI can't really help you.
Mikhal, let's have it like a partner conversation. Have you any question for me at this point?
Yes, well, have you, Jiri, first of all, as I will be sending this, we might be sharing this in both platforms of
Yes,
my
yes.
platforms. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what is it you do with this podcast?
I would like to translate. I would like to not translate. I would like to say that I did translations as well.
Okay, what
And
translations did you do? Tell us about
I
that.
did. I did aviation for aviation industry engines, translated technical things, and
From English into Czech?
business from English to Czech, from Czech to English, and I also translated some business things like agile management and things like that. So this was back 10 years ago. I stopped already, but I
Okay.
remember that I was at that time at pros.com.
Yes.
There I had colleagues who were meditating, if I say, over the translation, and then they would come up, for example, with 5 different translations, and we would be discussing what is the best. And these were, of course, some special problems which during the, for example, I've been translating for 1 week and I came up with 3 things which I wasn't sure of, so I put them on pros.com and we were discussing which is the best translation. I remember that.
When you have a translator that is really, really takes care about the details and investigates and researches, that's what we expect from a professional translator. Because some people say, oh, I know my neighbor speaks some Czech, I'll ask them to translate. No, it's not enough to know the language. You need to be a professional because writing is a skill, it's a talent. You have to know the terminology because you did technical and you did maybe industry type of translations, but there's medical and there's legal. Legal translation, you'd need to have legal experience. You might want to be a lawyer or have some background because knowing technical and knowing legal is not the same topic. It's not that I could just, understand all topics. So when we choose translators, we choose them about their language pairs because I would always want a native speaker to do the translation because Czech, Chinese, Japanese, whatever it is, a native speaker. And I would want a translator that would know the jargon, the terminology. That's usually what clients are most worried about. How can I be sure that you will translate it correctly? Because they're worried, do you understand the topic? So yes, I would choose you because I would check your CV, I would check your background, your experience. And when you tell me that you consult with other translators on prosy.com, that's wonderful. That means you're really investigating the topic.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to choose a people who have interest in certain topic or field. For example, I take interest in fantasy books.
Oh, nice.
So I would, when I was reading The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, for example, I would say that this translation is better than the other. And I would be keen in translating these topics. Yes, I would take, for example, other projects as well. But when I was in my fantasy realm, I would be the greatest translator. I don't know what do you think about this? If you agree with me that the certain field, the people are really good at it. Yeah.
I think first of all, it's always wonderful to do where your passion is. Okay. Because if your passion is at a certain point, there's more of a likelihood that you will do it well. When I chose what to study, I didn't think about business and what I'm going to do. I thought I want to know Chinese. This is something that I'm interested in. And because I did something that I wanted, I feel that I succeeded. Okay, this was 30 years ago. I studied Chinese in a Hebrew university and then in Beijing and in Taiwan. And by the time I came back to Israel after my studies, I was quite good. And I was an interpreter. And studying something you like is always good. So Jiri, if your passion is for fantasy novels, why don't you register with a publisher? And I'm sure there's always a demand for translators, a book translator.
Actually, I have translated, but this is not about me, but I will say one last thing and then I will give you more space. I translated a book about Chinese medicine, actually, and it was published.
Fantastic. That's
To English, from Czech to
from
English.
Czech to English.
Yes, it was a Czech author from one doctor in Czech, and that was very, very hard for me, but I learned a lot of things.
Yes.
Anyway, let's continue.
And maybe I should also say that when you think about languages, it's not only written translation, it's also interpretation, and it is transcription for my company. So think about delegations coming to different countries and people that they don't understand the language. So an interpreter can sit in the room and translate. Just now we had a Chinese delegation coming to Israel for one of our clients. And I had an interpreter. He spent 4 hours with them for a couple of days. And they translated. They had some kind of technical stuff with the code of the technology they were providing. And they had to make a discussion about that. So this is something that we do quite often.
I would like to put down under this video one British comedian. She's a great lady. She's a great comedian, and she made one funny clip about translating from 6 or 7 different languages. Have you seen this business?
Yes, I love it. It's so funny. Yes, let's publish that too. It's really, really, it's funny. I've watched it so many times, and it's even part of my presentation. How to translate into 7 languages. Yes.
7, that's right. Yes.
She's funny.
Mikhal, yes, Mikhal, can you invite us to the future projects? What are you planning for the future?
Well, I would, right now, my clients mostly are in Israel. I am working with some customers abroad. We have collaborations with translation agencies around the world. And that's a very good source because they get the larger companies or a company that doesn't have the combination of Hebrew and English. So this is a solution I can give them, sometimes Yiddish, Right now, one of our main segments is medical device companies. I'm working now with a company, they're called Venus Concept, and they have a laser machine for hair removal. And we are working with them on preparing their brochures, their user manuals into French for Canada, okay, not for France, and into Spanish. So I'm really looking to expand into medical device companies that need multilingual translation services. We're ISO certified, which means that we're working, that the translation we're certified to translate according to the ISO standard for translation quality management. So
Perfect.
that would be wonderful. Medical device companies. Technology.
Yes, I had to swim because I like winter swimming.
Oh, me too.
Yesterday, yes, it's great. We can talk about it a little bit more, but I would like to say that yesterday I went swimming with my business partner outside. We had to cut the corridor in the water, and then we could plunge in. This gentleman is working for a big medical company, which provides some kind of prosthetic help for diabetes people who lost their legs. So they help them to renew their legs. So maybe I can connect you with this gentleman and you can discuss business with him, because for me, it's connecting people is my passion. I like it, and we can talk about it later personally.
Thank you. That's wonderful. That's a perfect referral. Maybe we should. We're both in a BNI, right?
Yes.
Do you want to mention something about that, the networking organization?
Yes, it's a great thing. I would like to definitely recommend BNI.
I tell you, really one of my highlights of BNI, actually I have a few, but I'll tell you one, is a friend, my fellow BNI member is a painter. Now, when you think, okay, a painter translation, how does this connect? But her best friend was the assistant of the general manager of a very luxurious diamond company in Paris. They're called Van Cleef & Arpels. Now, it's a brand that you'd see their stores in the main centers of the leading capitals around the world. And she connected me to her friend. And when I was in Paris for a tour together with my daughter, I met her face to face. So first of all, she showed me the atelier, the boutique where they prepare the diamonds. And consequently, I provided interpretation services for Van Cleef & Arpels in Paris for about 5 years until the COVID, which unfortunately disconnected the contact. But we offered interpreters from English into French, or French into English, French, Chinese, French, Japanese, for several events that took place in Paris for their sales operators from different parts of the world. So that was a wonderful project, and it just shows an example of BNI.
Mikhal, thank you very much for coming today to this interview. Before we end, I would like to ask you, have you any takeaway message for our people who are listening? Sum up.
Well, I would say that languages are very relevant. If you want to expand, let's say in the business, listen, people don't speak all languages, obviously, and not everyone speaks English. So if you really want to expand, not to globally, but also in your own market, languages are important. So if, let's say, you're a tourist attraction in Czech Republic, let's say I worked with the chocolate factory in Prague, and they had some material and they wanted it in Hebrew. So if you want to attract tourists into your industry, I would really recommend you translate. If you want to go to other markets, prepare your material in other languages. And I would really want to say minimum is to have a high level of English, okay? Even if you translate it on your own, have it reviewed. You can put it in ChatGPT. We haven't even talked about the AI. You can also use the AI. I would say if you want to translate on your own, take it from one language, use machine translation, and then ask AI to improve it, to make sure there are no grammar mistakes. Make sure you have your minimal, good level of English in your website. I think that's the most important. Most important.
Thank you. Mikhal Heffer.
Thank you, Jiri, so much for having me on this podcast.
Now this is behind the scenes. I already would stop recording at this moment. But for me, for example, I have discovered Skype Bing as an AI, and I like it even better than GPT chat. I don't like it better, but for some translations, I like it better because it translates nicely. I don't know how to, this is incorporated into Skype. Have you tried it before? It's Bing. It's called Bing, I think.
Bing is known for its Microsoft, no?
It is, yes, Microsoft.
Yeah, well,
so Microsoft family. And I did some translations, and I liked the translation from Bing more than from GPT chat, but I was surprised because before that I used only GPT.
Did we cover topics that are relevant? I think so, right?
Yes, we did.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
Good, you did it. It was very well, very relaxing.
Have you been swimming, winter swimming this month yet, or not yet?
Yes.
Do you have a place to do it? How do you do it?
Where? I'll show you Israel. I'll show you the map of Israel. 1 second. Okay, I'll share screen. Israel is on the coast. Let's say it like this. You see Israel? Look at all this.
Yes, I can. Yes.
So if I am staying, just so you understand. Okay, so you see this? This is all the coast. I am